The film begins with a documentary filmed in 1905, a place called Lodalinen in North Fjords. There was a huge landslide there, causing a terrible tsunami. 63 people died in that tsunami. 58 years ago, a similar disaster happened in the same place. That day, 40 people died. The reason for all this was a large mountain in that area that collapsed and fell into the lake. Norway is surrounded by mountains. About 300 mountains are unstable, in a dangerous state. In other words, they can collapse at any moment. If they collapse, all of them will fall straight into the lake below. Due to this, there will be a terrible tsunami. Many such incidents have happened there before. Later, the year is shown as 2015. No matter how dangerous it is, people still live there. But the technology of that time is not what it is today. With today's technology, it is possible to monitor accidents in advance. Next, we see our hero. His name is Christian. He is a geologist. He and his family live in the same place we saw a while ago. He has a wife and 2 children at home. His wife's name is Eden. The eldest son's name is Sandra, and the youngest is Julia. A happy family in every way. But in 2 days, they are preparing to leave this village and go to the city. But Christian had no interest in leaving here. After all, it is the house where he has lived for so many years. Moreover, the job in the new place is also new, in some oil company. The man is in a very bad mood because of everything. Christian takes all the clothes he has used when going to work and comes to Eden. "What do you think? Should we throw these away?" he asks. "Aren't these all good clothes? Then why are you throwing them away?" When she asks, he says, "It's a new place, a new beginning, so let the clothes be new." It was only when she heard his worried voice that she understood. "We are going to start a new life. At least you will spend some time with us, and we will be a little more financially stable." She reassured him by saying things like that. So the next day, Christian came to the office where he worked. Today is his last day here. Tomorrow they will be moving to the city, so their colleagues had planned a small party. Their colleagues had made a cake and brought it. They celebrated the day by cutting the cake. So after the party and work, he was packing up his things and heading back when he heard a sound on the computer showing some reading. Hearing that, he quickly went inside and looked. When he asked, What's wrong?" his colleagues said that the groundwater level on the 4th and 5th levels had suddenly dropped and that contact with it had been lost. Christian was right when he looked. The groundwater level had dropped dangerously low. This was the first time they had seen such an event. But apart from this, there were no other problems. There was no particular problem like an earthquake or the movement of mountains. They thought it might be a problem with the connection, so they didn't make a big deal of it. But only Christian felt a certain tension, as if something was going to happen. Even after coming home, he was still in the same tension. "Why are you so stressed? That rock has been there for thousands of years. It will be there for thousands of years. And from now on, none of this is your business. So stop stressing about it and leave it," Eden says. But Christian can't find any peace. But he puts all that aside and quickly starts packing all his things. That's when Christian sees Sandra sitting alone by the river near the house. Realizing that something is wrong with her, Christian goes over to her. "What's wrong with you? Are you okay?" When he asks, "I love this place so much. I don't feel like leaving," Sandra says. "I know, it's not just you, it's all of us. But we have to make this decision for the good of our family." And Christian talks about every little thing and somehow makes him okay. So the next day, they are loading all their things into the car to leave. That's when the neighbors come to say goodbye to them. They talk to them for a while. Only Christian and his children leave first. Eden has some more work to do here, so she will leave after a few days. Whenever they talk like this, Christian's gaze is all on that mountain. There is some kind of tension. So later, Christian comes to the harbor with his 2 children. They have to go to the new place by boat. All the time, Christian's mind is always thinking about that mountain. Why did the water suddenly go down? Wouldn't it be a problem if the signal was also cut? So his mind was full of those thoughts. Therefore, with a sudden inner urge, the one who was going to the new place turns around and leaves the car for his old place of work. When he got there, he told the kids that he would come right away and ran inside. The people there were surprised to see the man who had quit his job and left with his belongings coming back. What if the problem is not with the sensors, but with the cables? If so, then all these mountains are like plates stacked on top of each other. Didn't you say that the water level dropped before the connection was cut? Where would all this water go suddenly? It would have found another way to flow. If that were the case, there would be new layers instead of the existing layers. Due to this, there is a possibility of friction. If that happens, the layers will be out of place. There is a possibility that the cables will be cut. With the weight of these mountains, everything will collapse and fall down. He tells everyone everything he feels. They also feel that maybe everything Christian said is true. That's why they all decide to go there and take a look. The next thing they see is Eden. She works as a receptionist at a hotel there. It is the busy tourist season. When she returns after setting up a room for a tourist couple, she gets a call from Sandra. He tells his mother that he left the children alone in the wind and boarded the helicopter, saying that he would come now. Meanwhile, our Christian and his team have reached the top of those mountains. They land the helicopter on top of the control room there. Then they get down and walk to the top of the mountain. There is a big gap inside the mountain. Christian and another person with him climb down through that gap by hanging on a rope. That is where all these cables and pipes are connected. The two of them check all the connections there. Then, just as Christian said earlier, all the cables there are cut. In other words, everything he said was correct. His other friends were sitting in the office and watching all this on the screen, so the two of them came back to the office. Looking at these cables, it doesn't look like they were cut like normal. Something serious has happened. "What are we going to do now?" Christian asked. "Calm down. Let's dig some more holes and test again," his friend said. "Do you want to drill more? Don't you understand what I said? If that mountain collapses, it will create 80-meter-high waves. If that happens, it will take 10 minutes for the whole country to disappear." He said that in a bit of anger. "We understand what you're saying. What do you want us to do now? Should we press this button and scare everyone by giving them a warning? If nothing happens as we predicted, everyone will laugh at us. Even if we finally give the original warning, no one will believe it. The only thing we can do now is issue a yellow alert. Then we can keep an eye on the mountains for 24 hours. Everyone there, except Christian, had the same opinion. In a way, they calmed Christian down and let him go. But when he got back to the car, he realized that he couldn't see his children inside. Sandra had left a note on the front of the car. The note said, "We're tired of waiting. We're going to Mommy's." So he headed straight to the hotel where Eden works. When he quickly went inside, he saw his two children sitting there. "What kind of crazy thing did you do today? Was it true that you left the kids in the car and said that you had to work for hours?" Eden was angry. "That was a mistake on my part. I feel bad. That's what happened. Sorry." He said this sadly, so she didn't argue anymore. The trip won't happen today anyway. So Eden says that we can stay at the hotel today and leave tomorrow. But when Julia says, "No, I have to go home. I didn't even say goodbye to my family," Christian decides to take Julia home with him. But since all the things in the house had been shifted, there was not even a bed to sleep on. That's why Sandra was staying at the hotel. Christian went home with Julia. From what he had packed, he only took one bed to sleep on that night. But he had no peace at all. All his eyes and mind were on the mountain. Eden had set up a room in the hotel for Sandra to sleep in. At the same time, two people who worked with Christian were in the control room on top of the mountain to constantly monitor the mountain. They were very afraid that something would happen if Christian said that. So it was night. Maybe because he was in the hotel, Sandra couldn't sleep. That's why he got up and started walking around the whole place. That's when he saw an underground area there. There wasn't a single person there. Then, thinking that he could skate for a while, he put on his headset and started skating, listening to music. Meanwhile, the employee, who was watching a movie on his laptop at the control station, sees signals that have never been seen before on the screen. They were extremely dangerous signals that showed the movements of the mountains. He immediately runs to call the manager and tells him about it. "Okay, we'll go and see right away," Arvid and Jacob say, and leave that very night. They also slowly descend through the same canyon that Christian had descended from hours earlier. Meanwhile, Christian here is still unable to sleep even after midnight. He goes outside the house and stands looking at that mountain like this. It's very disturbing. He quickly picks up the phone and calls the office. "Is everything okay there? Is there no other problem?" When asked, he was told, "It showed some difference in the sensor readings a while ago. It's like the mountains are merging. Maybe there's an error." Arvid and Jacob have gone there, he replied. Hearing this, Christian's inner peace was gone. Meanwhile, the two men who had descended into the valley reached the bottom, and suddenly the whole place shook. In the next second, all the signals started showing as dangerous. There was a small earthquake. As Christian looked, all the birds were flying through the sky in fear. He realized the danger that was about to come. He quickly brought all the old files and put them on the floor and started to sift through them. They were details of the landslides that had occurred in Norway before. After looking at all of them, he realized something big from it. He quickly called the office again. "Are they still inside? Tell them to come out quickly." "Is there a problem?" the office worker asked. "There's no time to talk. Call them quickly." Christian quickly connected the call as soon as he said it. "I checked all the old dates. Just like that, the canyons were shrinking before the landslide. Do you understand what I said? They're not splitting, they're shrinking. So both of you get out quickly." Realizing the danger of what he said, the two of them tried to get out quickly. But at that moment, the whole place started shaking again. A bigger earthquake than the one before. Suddenly, a large rock fell on one of the people's feet. He couldn't move and got stuck there. Everyone in the office was watching this live, and Christian was listening on the phone. At the same time, the groundwater level started to drop dangerously everywhere. "Margot, sound the siren quickly! Don't delay any longer!" Without even thinking for a second about what Christian said, they quickly ran and pressed the siren button. With that, the sound of the siren began to sound loudly throughout the country. All the people in the country who were sleeping woke up in shock. Eden, who was in the hotel, also heard the same sound. She quickly went outside and looked. Everything that Christian said was about to come true. Meanwhile, two people who were lying in the ravine were in danger. Along with the earthquake, the ravine had started to shrink. Along with that, all the rocks were crumbling and falling into it. All of that fell on the body, and the person who called himself Arvid fell to the bottom with those rocks. He is dead. As such a large mountain collapsed and fell into the water, giant waves began to form under that pressure. They are rushing towards that village. Along with that, all the signals in the office are cut off. Along with that, a 10-minute countdown has started. In other words, this country will be destroyed in 10 minutes. Here, Christian couldn't connect to the office no matter how hard he tried. That's when Julia woke up hearing the siren. But at that very second, the whole earth started shaking. He quickly started a 10-minute countdown on his watch. Then, he quickly went outside with Julia and ran to his car. He was heading towards Eden's hotel. On the way, he saw the entire town running away in the same way. The hotel was also in a bad state. "We only have 10 minutes. We have to get everyone out within that time," Eden and another employee said, calling all the guests there and starting to get them out. When the sound of the alarm and the shaking of the earth came, all the guests ran out in fear. At this moment, she got a call from Christian. "We're on our way there. Come quickly and pick you and Sandra up." "No, there's no time for that now. You guys escaped quickly. There's a bus here. Sandra and I can get on it," Eden says. Even though Eden says so, Christian doesn't want to leave them alone. But he gives in to her insistence and reluctantly drives up the mountain with Julia. Here, when Eden is loading everyone in the hotel onto the bus, he sees that Sandra is not there. Chekin is there with his headset on and listening to music. He didn't know what was going on here. Eden chases him and runs back into the hotel in fear. Meanwhile, Christian is driving up the mountain with Julia. But halfway there, he can't move forward due to a traffic block. Everything is packed with cars in front and behind, making it all noisy. Only 4 minutes left. Only 4 minutes left for the tsunami waves to reach the shore. Then he didn't look at anything. He got out of the car with the baby and started running upstairs. As he ran, he was shouting to everyone to get out of the car and run. Hearing that, all the people started running upstairs with him. Here, Eden is searching the entire hotel without seeing Sandra. When she goes to her room and looks, she is not there. She runs back to the lobby and asks the bus driver, "Have you seen Sandra?" "I saw her standing on the porch earlier. But we don't have much time. We have to go quickly," the driver says. "Sorry, I can't come without my son." And Eden runs back into the hotel. But seeing this, a couple on the bus runs after her to help her. They were good friends with Eden when they came to stay at this hotel. Meanwhile, Christian is running up the mountain with the people. Only 57 seconds left. As he was running fast with the baby, he saw his neighbors sitting in the car. "Thomas, get out of the car quickly! We don't have any time!" Hearing that, he also got out of the car and started running. But when his wife Anna got out and started running after him, they were caught between two cars. When they turned around, they saw giant waves rushing towards them.
"Thomas, you run upstairs with the kids. I'll get Anna," Christian says. Since there's no time to stop, he runs upstairs with the kids. Christian rescues Anna from the middle of the car and starts running upstairs with them. But the waves are already approaching. Anna's legs are too weak to run fast with her. He quickly gets into a nearby car with her and puts on her seatbelt. He did this so that she wouldn't be swept away by the waves. They had barely sat down when, within seconds, the waves crashed into the car. Both of them drowned in the water. Luckily, the car didn't float away because they were wearing seatbelts. But suddenly, an iron wire came flying out of nowhere, smashing the window of their car and penetrating inside. Meanwhile, Eden is running around the hotel looking for Sandra. The couple is with her. Just then, the woman who was with her heard a noise from a room. They quickly opened the door and went inside, and there was a guy skating. They didn't have time to wait, so they called him too and ran out quickly. But by the time they got outside, the bus had left it. Looking ahead, they saw a giant tsunami rushing up to the sky. They turned around and ran inside, into the basement at twice the speed they had come. But before that, the waves had already hit the hotel. Sandra and the man quickly ran into the basement room. But Eden and the other woman were already caught in the waves before they could get in. However, Eden somehow managed to catch hold of it and get inside. But the woman who was with her couldn't be saved. They were swept away. If it was her husband, he would have cried when he saw it. They didn't go inside to save Sandra, but now he has lost his wife. Eden calms him down in a way and closes the door. Since this is an underground shelter, he couldn't have gone into the water so quickly. The next one shows Christian. His life was probably not in danger because he was wearing a seatbelt. When he regained consciousness, he was lying upside down in the car. He frantically calls out to Anna, who was lying nearby. But she was dead. The wire that had penetrated their car earlier was stuck in Anna's chest. He unbuckled his seatbelt and somehow got out of the car. When he looked around, it was all a wreck. Suddenly, he remembered Julia and started walking quickly up. Meanwhile, the people in the office were also completely confused, not knowing what to do. Since their office was on a high place, the waves hadn't reached them. Since all the signals had been lost, they couldn't even know what was happening outside. That's when Jacob, who escaped from the canyon, contacted them. "Hello, Jacob, are you okay? Where is Arvid?" Jacob couldn't answer when he asked. They knew what had happened to Arvid from Jacob's silence. Meanwhile, Christian was walking uphill looking for Julia. All the survivors were there. When he got there and called Julia's name loudly, she ran and came to Christian. She had run up the mountain before the tsunami hit, so she didn't have any problems. But when Thomas looked, he didn't see his wife Anna. When he realized that she was not with Christian, he immediately realized what had happened to his wife. Suddenly, Christian started looking for the bus that had come from the hotel. But there was no bus there. He quickly took the phone of someone who was there and called Eden's phone, but the call wouldn't connect. That's why he was afraid that something had happened to them. "Maul, you have to stay here with Uncle Thomas, okay? Papa will quickly go and bring Mom and Sandra back." Christian calmed Julia down and handed her over to Thomas and quickly started walking towards the hotel. At this time, the basement is half full of water. It is impossible to know what the situation is outside. They slowly open the door to see if the water has subsided, and water starts pouring in through the gap. Sandra and Eden quickly close the door with all their strength, but within seconds, water starts pouring in again through the top of the roof. Seeing this, the three of them press down on it. "I can't do it anymore. There's no point in doing this," says the man with them. "Then what do you want to do? Go out in this condition?" When Eden asks, "You guys calm down. Let's wait until the water rises to the top of the door. Then the pressure outside will decrease. After that, we can open the door and swim out and escape," says Sandra. "Wait here any longer? We'll be dead by then." He gets angry with them. At this time, Christian is heading towards the hotel in a small boat. He feels a terrible sense of guilt after seeing several people lying dead in the water on the way. As he approached the hotel, he got off the boat and walked forward. There, he saw the bus that had left the hotel lying broken down. Praying that nothing had happened to Eden and Sandra, he got inside the bus. From inside, he found a torch. He used it to look at each of their faces. He was forced to search for his loved ones among the dead bodies. He searched the entire bus, but Eden and Sandra were not on it. Then he realized that they had not boarded the bus, which gave him a little hope. The water had reached up to the necks of those in the basement. Thinking that they could open the door now, the three of them tried to push the door open. But they could not open the door because there were some stones on the other side of the door. Seeing it so full of water, the man who was with him started to panic. "I can't lie here and die, I have to escape," he said, grabbing Sandra by the head and starting to drown him under the water. "Philip, calm down. No one can do anything," Eden said, but he wouldn't listen. Unable to bear the sight of his own son being killed in front of his eyes, Eden had no other choice but to drown him underwater. He suffocated to death in a matter of seconds. Sandra was shocked by Eden's action, but there was no other choice. Meanwhile, Christian had reached the hotel. From there, he called out Eden and Sandra's names loudly, but there was no response. When he reached the basement, he saw that it was already full of water, and thinking that there was no chance of him being inside, he went back upstairs. He searched there and went straight to the room where Sandra was lying. Seeing his bag lying on the floor there, he thought that they were both dead, and sat there and burst into tears. Unable to bear the grief, he took a piece of wire that he found in his hand and started beating the whole place with anger. Eden and Sandra, who were in the basement below, heard this sound. Realizing that someone had come upstairs, the two of them also started shouting loudly. But Christian could not hear the sound. "You stay here, I'll come right now," Eden said, and quickly dived under the water. She later came back with a spanner in her hand. She used it to hit a pipe there. Christian heard the sound. He realized that the sound was coming from the basement and ran there. By then, Christian had reached the door of the room they were in through the water, but he couldn't open the door because the door was full of stones. He quickly started removing all the stones that were there. Eden, realizing that, also swam down and tried to push the door open. Finally, all the stones were removed, and the two of them pushed the door open with all their strength. Both of them could not bear the joy of seeing each other. He quickly let Eden go up. Then he went inside the room and came to where Sandra was standing. "Don't be afraid, Dad hasn't come yet." He was in a terrible state with the fear of death. "Mom is waiting for us outside. Just follow Dad," Christian said. Giving him courage and swimming ahead, Sandra followed. But as soon as she reached the door, Sandra suddenly started to choke and faint. Seeing this, Christian quickly came back and gave her mouth-to-mouth resuscitation. Then, Sandra was quickly carried forward. But Christian could not swim after her. His whole body was weak because he could not breathe, and he began to writhe in the water. By then, Sandra had already swam to Eden. Seeing that Christian was not with him, she quickly jumped into the water. When she reached a little further, she saw Christian lying motionless in the water. Then, not even a second later, she quickly came up with Christian. But he was not moving or breathing. The two of them took turns giving him artificial respiration and CPR. But no matter what they did, he was still not moving. Eden was frantically giving him CPR and calling his name loudly. Finally, she cried, thinking that Christian was dead. But Sandra was not ready to give up her father like that. He kept giving CPR without stopping. Suddenly, Christian took a big breath in a second and jumped up. The joy of both of them was indescribable to see the man they thought was dead come back. The three of them hugged each other and cried with joy. And so, the morning dawned. All the survivors from the accident were standing on top of the mountain. Rescue teams had arrived there. Julia was waiting for her father, mother, and brother to come. Suddenly, she looked ahead and saw Eden, Christian, and Sandra walking. Unable to contain her joy, she ran to them. Eden hugged her and started kissing her. The family she thought she would never see again is now together. Thus ends the movie The Wave, showing Christian's family walking happily.